Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Jones with Jerry Jones Direct, and with me today, as you can see on this video, is Dr. Hiren Patel. And Dr. Patel joins us from North Carolina. And the reason why we have Dr. Patel with us today is we're going to basically get some feedback from Dr. Patel about his experience with Jerry Jones Direct, and specifically as a ClearPath Society member. So, Dr. Patel, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. How are things out there in Waxhaw?
Well, thank you very much. It is my pleasure. It's raining out here, but it has been a hot summer. But I think things are starting to cool down, so can't complain.
Well, we got quite a shower here yesterday too in Oregon, and I don't know if we could be much further apart. I mean, you're getting rain, I'm getting sunshine tomorrow. You'll probably have my rain, so you'll probably get more of it.
We'll find out soon.
That's right. That's right. So one of the things I'd like to do today in this webinar is basically just share your thoughts, your experiences with others who may be considering working with Jerry Jones Direct and considering membership in our ClearPath Society. So if you could maybe just tell our viewers or our listeners a little bit about your practice as it is today, and we'll get into in a little bit later about what it looked like before, but maybe just share a little bit about your practice.
Sure. Basically, I'm a general dentist practicing here in Charlotte. I graduated in 2004, so this is my 13th year in practice. But I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2008, and I purchased two existing practices. They were in the same location. They kind of shared the common space, and basically I combined into one practice. So basically, since 2008, I have been in this area practicing as a general dentist. And it's been a fun ride. I learned a lot. And basically, that pretty much in a nutshell.
Okay. So you've been practicing for 13 years. So you've been around dentistry long enough to have seen what it was like 13 years ago in practice and how it is today. You've seen some changes. I mean, dentistry is changing quickly. What were some of the challenges that you were faced with when you purchased these two practices and merged? What have been some of the challenges you've been faced with?
That's a good question. I guess there were many challenges. I was a new business owner, number one, and when you get trained in dental school to do dentistry and nothing else. Even that is a basic education. There is a lot to learn. So when I took over these two practices, the biggest challenge was the business side. But I think the main challenge that was brought upon me was because of the mindset that I had. You know, it's being trained as a dentist. I was trained to think that if I am good at clinical dentistry, that should take care of everything. And I soon realized that's not enough. So that, from business aspect, managing a team, sharing your vision and getting them to buy in your vision, and a lot of administrative things, plus providing the experience to the patient that you want to provide in addition to providing good clinical dentistry, attracting new patients. So keeping that, a lot of challenges, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So keeping the patients that you purchased, more or less, attracting new patients, plus the business challenges, just the day-to-day requirements of running a business to be successful. There's a lot. I mean, it's not easy, and you and I both know dentistry is getting more complex. As an example, I just received, I read an article in an Oregon business magazine, and Oregon has a new law that started July 1st. And basically there's a question that we can no longer ask job applicants in the first interview. And that question is, do you have a criminal past? We can no longer ask that in the first interview, which to me, if you can ask it at all, is odd that you would have to wait. But I mean, I guess I don't understand the logic, but those kinds of things happen. And you and I we're just here doing our thing, going about our daily business, and all of a sudden a new regulation hits us. And that could be significant. The penalty, by the way, is significant for asking that question. First time I've heard of it, and it's been a law now for almost 2 months, over 2 months. So, I mean, you just keep having more and more challenges that are layered on us as business owners. So what would you say would be the biggest thing that was keeping you awake at night? So, I mean, if you're like me, if you have stress, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and just drenched in sweat going, oh my gosh, tomorrow I absolutely have to do X or Y. What was keeping you awake at night?
That's a good question. Mostly from the administrative aspect, I would tell you, not from the clinical, not as much from the clinical side, but managing the team, having to implement the vision for the practice, and the day-to-day challenges that we talked about from the business aspect, and also what I was starting to see what the future of dentistry is shaping up to be like. Such as, I'm definitely noticed in the past few years, the patient mindset has changed. The whole demographics of things have changed. The managed care is starting to take over. So a lot of and obviously regulations, government regulations, and we are us, as a country moving away from common sense. Those are the things that definitely makes me worry, basically. Keeping the practice afloat and continue to build and grow practice is, I think, I see it as a very challenging now. And unless there are measures that are put in place, it's not automatic. The golden era is over, pretty much. And that thought is what keeps me awake.
Yeah, I completely understand. It has. Things have changed. And I think more and more there are outside influencers upon a patient's decision to move forward with care, what kind of care, who they're going to go and see, what practice they'll choose, why they will choose that practice. I think, we're left with dealing with a new set of rules, if you will. It is challenging. It's absolutely challenging. I see that in my own office as well. So in this pursuit of being able to sleep at night and having a restful, peaceful evening, what had you done or what had you tried prior to joining ClearPath Society? What were some of the things you tried?
Honestly, like I had mentioned earlier, my biggest thing was I thought that if I am, clinically good at what I do and try to provide exceptional care, and provide as painless dentistry as possible. And so mostly from the clinical aspect, that's what was my mindset, that I thought that was enough to have my patients go out, talk about me, bring me more patients. Basically, when I took over the practices in 2008, and it's weird because I got into these practices at the worst economic time. But first couple of years, one of the doctor who I bought the practice from, he decided to stay on for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. So we did pretty good. But as soon as he left, I started seeing a pretty significant decline, a change. And since I have graduated, my focus has always been on getting better clinically, how I can include more services and, implants, you name it, just, CAD-CAM, placing implants, doing Invisalign, whatever, just clinical aspect. That has been the focus from day one. And then the big tap came from the back. That's not enough.
So you were kind of like, you basically had the mindset that if I add one more service, I'll be able to deliver more care. If I add one more skill set, I'll be able to deliver more care. And so you sort of had the idea or thought process, and I hear this a lot. I hear this a lot from doctors, that if I just keep adding services, I can do more for each patient. And what I find oftentimes is when you can do more, sometimes you end up doing a lot less, if that makes any sense, because it's like, oh, well, I can do Invisalign, I can do implants. And so the patient comes in, a brand new patient, they don't know who you are, they don't know what you stand for, and they're immediately overwhelmed with this $30,000 treatment plan, because you can do all of these things rather than the one thing that they want, which is, doctor, this tooth hurts, can you fix it? absolutely, we can fix that and we can fix you. I mean, you just, go sky high on all the possibilities. And that can backfire. Well, as you're kind of going along and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to just keep improving clinically. Well, you talked about this tap on the back of the head. How did you find Jerry Jones Direct and ClearPath Society? What was it that led you to us?
Actually, it was an email from you. I don't know how I got an email, but it was an email from you, and basically, and all the things you talked about in that email, it was almost like you're telling my story, basically.
So, I was in your head.
Yeah, you were in my head. So.
What? Okay, so you got an email and you're like, okay, I got to look into this and find out really what it's all about. So of what we did at the time, what caught your attention? What did you like about it?
You in that email, I remember very distinctly that you had that's very thing you had talked about, that as a dentist, my focus was completely on this aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And you kind of helped me open my mind or change my mindset and look at it from a different perspective. And I still, believe in providing excellent care. And that's what you promoted. Yeah, you need to do that, but that's not enough. And that was the biggest thing, I think, that kind of attracted me to find out more, mm-hmm. basically, from the business aspect and how I want to reach more and more patients and how I can deliver that care rather than just being in this kind of, a little deep well, basically. So that's what caught my attention, that kind of gave me a different perspective, different thought pattern, and I started digging deeper.
Yeah, so it's kind of a pattern interrupt. This email shows up and you're like, what the heck? This makes sense, but man, I have this penchant for focusing on what I love and what I know. And I think a lot of doctors miss the boat. They develop some incredible skills. They have the ability to change a person's life. And that's, to me, probably one of the most shocking outcomes of dentistry is, and I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't think it's talked enough about in the advertising and the marketing side. I don't think it's talked enough between dentists and those that advise them. But you and every other dentist in America that has a license to practice dentistry can literally change the life of a person that quick. That fast. Get them out of pain, help them realize their beauty inside and out. And I don't want to get all esoteric, but to me, that's the power that a dentist holds in their hands. And if you don't have patients who can appreciate that, patients who you can help, the skills are a waste. To me, that is one of the worst possible outcomes. You have these tremendous skills, but they're not shared. And I think that's just it's a very bad outcome. It's a very bad thing. So, I want a dentist to have as many patients as they can possibly handle, hopefully with a surplus, but also have the mindset that, with my team and my skills and these people that I have around me, we can do amazing things. And by not promoting dentistry, by not advertising how those changes can come about and what those changes can look like, to me, it's just, wow, we're missing the boat. We got to talk about those things because they're important. This may be a little bit of a personal question, but how many times have you had patients break down and cry or hug you from what you've been able to help them with?
Oh, it's so many times. It's a very goosebump type feeling when you get that. Yeah, but quite a few times.
That's like the best paycheck in the world.
Absolutely. Nothing can touch it, basically.
Yeah. Wow. I love. So when you get this email, how long did you consider what was in the email before you decided to join? Was it a quick decision? Was it sort of I'm going to analyze this and think about it for a couple of weeks, or how was it for you?
No, actually, it took me a little bit of time. Basically, I got an email, and the email also had a link to a webinar. So I registered and I joined the webinar. I heard what you had to say, and I was obviously thoroughly impressed. So I think the next day I made a call, and I was connected to our member ambassador, Jack. And then I must have spent, I don't know, 25 hours with him talking back and forth. Before, maybe not 25, but I remember one Friday we talked for almost 3.5 hours. One Friday, I remember that.
Wow.
So we had several conversations. I had a ton of questions, and like I said, you have this one mindset, and now something comes totally different, and not different, but something that you haven't thought about it and given much thought, and so yes, I spent quite a few hours with Jack. Jack was very kind, and he answered all my questions very patiently. And just to double check and triple check, I might have asked the same question like 1,000 times. And he was very, very.
So really, what held you back? Was it I want to make sure I'm making the right decision, or what was it that was kind of holding you back?
That was it. It was just I had totally latched onto the idea, but I guess I'm a slow decision maker, and it may be a bad quality, but and I wanted to be sure. That's all, because I had, obviously you hear so many different things, and there are so many avenues out there, and you want to pick the right one. So I wanted to make sure that I am getting the value of what was discussed, and that's why all conversations back and forth. So just wanted to be sure. Best decision I made. Good. Well, I know Jack and I talked a couple of times. I remember Jack had been with me for about a year at that point. And so I know we talked a couple of times about your unique situation, and really what Jack and our goal was to help show you where you would find value. Because oftentimes, we have prospective members that reach out to us, and they're not a good fit. They're not a good fit right now. They may be later, but at the point where they're at, they may not be a good fit. And so we're very patient about sort of incubating those docs who aren't quite ready, to get them moving in the right direction, helping them understand what membership means, and how it can help them specifically. Because membership, the benefits are vast, as you know. It would take me more than an hour to describe benefits, the individual benefits of membership. So when you made that decision, when you finally said, okay, Jack, I'm ready to move forward, what were your expectations? I had discussed, like I said, things in very detail with Jack about what my expectations were. But my main focus was, first I started out looking from the perspective of just attracting new patients. Mm-hmm. That was my initial thought. Mm-hmm. But then as I dug deeper, I figured out that with your organization, it's a lot more than that. It's a whole package. It's not just attracting new patients, just marketing. Obviously, marketing is a big piece of it, because, what I realized is that even if I am delivering good care, if my financial side or the business side is not taken care of the way it should be taken care of, that stress is eventually going to affect my performance too. So no matter how good I can be at clinically, but if that side is not taken care of, then it would be affected. So my main expectation was to, I also had a new associate, and I wanted to build his schedule. And once that the cellular dentist decided to leave, some patients who he was drawing from further away, all corners of Charlotte, that decided to try somebody else, and so forth. So there was a little bit of that. So multitude factors. So my main expectation was to get my schedule busy, mm-hmm. and basically get enough number of patients. I even had come up with an arbitrary number of, reaching up to 60 new patients a month I don't know how I came up with it, but I think I just looked at where I wanted to be, having two full schedule for two doctors and four hygienists, and that was my initial goal. So that was the main expectation. But then as I dug deeper, I figured out that there is a lot of different things, from management side to team side to having a vision and how to implement it. And I realized that doing something was important than being the smartest person in the room.
Yes. Oftentimes it doesn't pay very well to be the smartest. It pays to be the guy that's sitting there listening and taking in everything and saying to themselves, how can I apply what was just said to me? How does that apply to my situation, and how can I leverage what that person has discovered? So I think sometimes it pays to be, the guy in the room who just gets to sit and listen and observe, and then take action.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that now that I look back at things.
Yeah.
Those were my main expectations going in.
So what were your early experiences like? You started off, you one of the things you wanted to do was attract new patients. What were some of your early experiences like? And the other question I have, it's kind of an obvious one because I know doctors are thinking this. Do you still have the same associate?
Yes, I do.
Beautiful. So what were some of your early experiences like?
My, the first, obviously there is a fear of unknown. So I went through, as I was kind of introduced to everything, our customer hub, the ClearPath Society customer hub, and I was directed by Jack to explore that, and because there's a ton of resources on it, and I went through all that, and Jack kind of walked me through what are the different packages that we have for having a monthly plan, sort of a marketing plan in place. So that was the first thing that we did. And I think I also had a brief conversation with you after I signed on with a totally different issue that I was having at that time. And what we discussed was very helpful. So basically, it's very organized. Everything was kind of laid out, brick at a time. And basically, I was kind of led through that process. And then eventually we came up with a plan that this is what we want to do for my practice based on what I wanted to achieve. And that was the POWER program, basically, monthly newsletters and also the every door direct mail. So after several discussions going back and forth, that was chosen to be the first step in this direction. Mm-hmm. And basically and funny thing is when we picked the every door direct mail, the ad that you have designed, and I showed it to my team member, and none of them liked it. They're like, oh my God, because it's totally unusual, right? Nobody has seen it before. Everybody's kind of used to seeing the norm. And the initial reaction was they were not too sure, but obviously they're completely latched onto it now after seeing the result.
Yeah, so, it's kind of one of those things, you have to see it. You have to see the results it produces before you're like, okay, I'm all in. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned results now. How have they been? What has changed since, because you joined back in November 2015. So it hasn't been quite a year as of the time we're doing this online meeting. So how has your practice changed since November 2015? What's different today that's really like, wow?
Big time, yeah, wow. I just had a meeting with my accountant about a week and a half ago, in between my London trip and India trip, and I wanted to sit down with him early on so that I can do some planning and so forth. Mm-hmm. And we're just going through the numbers, and he was telling me that I'm seeing 21% growth this year, which is on the top end of Charlotte market, basically. And in terms of new patients, which was the original kind of desired goal. So right. Basically, my average had been up to this point, I started with the every door direct mail and newsletter and all the things that came with joining the organization, is that we were at 15 to 17 new patients a month. That was our average. And January, we mailed out our first EDDM in January. I was kind of in the beginning a little slow. We went back and forth. So again,
that's okay. That's okay.
So I think our first EDDM started hitting our area in end of January, and and within the last week I would say it was 18th January, I remember correctly, 18th or 19th January maybe. But we saw in just that half a month, we saw 27 new patients. And it's been crazy since from that time, from February to August, on an average, we are seeing 50 new patients a month. I mean, it's a huge jump for us. And there has been months where we have had seen 17 patients a month and new patients a month. And also we have diagnosed a lot more dentistry in these new patients. So there's a lot of dentistry in the banks that we can hopefully slowly convert these people and get the work done. So we have a good platform now, and we have done about almost $80,000 worth of dentistry so far. That is just from EDDM. Now, from the Everyday Direct Mail and the newsletters. Now we have, this is what the data that I have kind of gathered, but there may be, a new patient come in, and then later on they're bringing 3-4 family members. So that's their additional data that I may not have it accurate here. I was trying to get everything in order to give you some numbers, but 21%. We are, 2012, we had done 1.8 million. It's okay if I share these numbers, right?
Oh, yeah, it's your call. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So we had done 1.8 million in 2012. In 2013, we went down to 1.4. So we dipped $400,000, and then it's been same story until we started on this. And now I think we are on our way to hitting 1.7, 1.8 this year. And if the rest of the 4 months go as the year that has gone by, who knows? We might hit 2 million.
That's awesome. That is super cool. That is super cool. How is your mindset has shifted now from dentistry's clinically to be successful in dentistry, you have to be clinically excellent, to now to be successful in dentistry, not only do I have to be clinically excellent, I also have to be, if you could sum that up in just one sentence, how would you finish that sentence?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Sure, and I'm a little unclear, I apologize. So your mindset a year ago was, to be successful in dentistry, I have to be clinically excellent. To now it is, today, to be successful in dentistry, I have to be clinically excellent, and how would you finish that sentence?
I have to be excellent in marketing myself.
Yeah. I would agree. So membership is kind of unique in that it can be utilized in two different ways, basically. So there's the self-guided way, right? So you can kind of take all these systems and the marketing pieces that we've created and continue to create. You can use those on your own, or you can have them done for you. What has the support been like in either way? And for you, which do you like the most? I mean, do you prefer the done for you, or do you prefer to be able to do it on your own? And the support back either direction up, how's that been?
I personally, I feel like, basically being a dentist, I have to practice dentistry. And right now, because my associate is fairly new, I'm still personally carrying the load of the practice in terms of, production that leads to collection. So I feel, in my personal situation, I can't speak for anybody else, but I personally feel that the more help, the better it is. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what my personal sort of desire is. That at this point, I want to, I can do stuff on my own, but my life is so busy with a lot of other things outside of dentistry that I do. I definitely need, and it's, it's been a very smooth experience. Everything is kind of done for you, even picking out the routes for you. So even though I like to look at it myself, and I sometimes change it. And see, there are so many times I might have missed the deadline because I tried to do it myself. And you know what I'm saying? So there's plenty of help. You got great designers. Jack is amazing, and everybody's very prompt. We get attention right away. So in that way, it's easy to just have somebody do it for me.
Yeah.
It's respect. I don't have to worry about it, basically.
Yeah, it's it's going to get done. And you mentioned this, I think, is a kind of a success point, and I think it goes across a number of areas, I guess, in our personal lives. But oftentimes we do get in our own way. We prevent forward progress, and really the only thing that's in between us and where we want to be is ourself. We have a hard time getting out of our own way, and it sounds to me that you recognize that, and you're getting better at getting out of your own way.
100% true to that.
That's awesome. So what would you tell another doc if you were having a one-on-one conversation with another doctor at dinner, or let's say at a dental meeting, and you're talking to a doctor in the hall, what would you tell them about making a decision to join ClearPath? Or what would you tell them? I mean, would you tell them to act, or what would you say?
What I would say is what I experienced, basically, that you don't have to be alone in this, because I felt that I did not have any avenue how to change things. I know a change needed to happen, but I really was kind of clueless, and I didn't have anyone to talk to, or there were too much out there that you didn't know who to trust. And with now my experience, I can definitely speak with all conviction that really I would tell whoever that colleague is that you really don't have to do this alone, and you probably can't do it all by yourself, because you also have to carry the load of doing the actual dentistry. If we are not involved in that, the meter is down. And so that's what I would say, that there is amazing help here, and it's very logical. It makes sense. It has proven itself many times over, from what I hear and that I get to interact with people, and in my personal experience. So definitely I would say give it a chance, give it a try, and get out of your own way, kind of, and do it, basically. So that's what I would say. I would say don't have to be alone. There is help, and it's very authentic, and it works, and I can attest to that.
That was my fault. I'm sorry. I had my microphone muted for some reason. Very cool of you to share that. Any other thoughts you'd like to share? And I got to tell you, Hiren, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I know you're a busy guy, and you mentioned your interests outside of dentistry, of which you're very involved. And I appreciate the fact that you've built a business that supports your outside activities, because really that's why we're in business. We're not in business because we want to be in business. We're in business to have a lifestyle that our business supports. So I'm glad you're a member. I'm glad you're with us. Any other last thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers?
I guess I pretty much said everything, but I want to thank you, because I know we met at the Discovery Day, but it has been a great ride. I have learned so much from you, and I would encourage anyone to basically definitely follow you. I read everything. I I carry this whole bag with me all day long. I take it to work. It has all the Practice Profit Insider, the Dentistry Confidential, all the CDs, everything. I learned so much from you. So I am very grateful. And it definitely helps, relieve a big stress from your life. And things were going really downhill. And I am so happy to have found you. So I'm looking forward to a very strong, productive, and long-lasting relationship. That's what so more to you than, And anyways, thank you.
You're very welcome, Hiren. You're very welcome. It's folks like you that really make what we do worth doing. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Man, thank you. So I appreciate your time, and hang tight here as I wrap up this recording. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit more just for a minute or two. But for everybody else, thanks for watching this webinar. And if you have questions about Jerry Jones Direct or ClearPath Society, ring us up. We're here. We'll answer phones. 503-339-6000 is our main phone. Or you can go online to jerryjonesdirect.com to learn more. But thank you. I appreciate it. Hiren, thank you, sir.
Thank you.